Okay. Uh, Apologies. There's a technical glitches from my end, so that was what caused the stream. So I think, but we're back now. So, like I was saying earlier, so the program falls into two category: employability track and entrepreneurship track. Is that you have interest to actually start your own brand, developing solutions that can solve Africa terrifying problems, or you fall into the employability track, having the requisite skill set that makes you to be valuable in your career space. And lastly, so our key focus on this program is number one, drone technology. We are going to be going in details about drone technology, how drone technology can be harnessed to collect data, turn them into actionable insights that can help farmers to practice sustainable and precision agriculture. Also, the course on GIS and GIS data and remote sensing, that's geographic information system. We're talking about QGIS, ArcGIS, and how we can get data from them to actually uh, practice precision agriculture. We have robotics and Internet of Things. So the program we have today on livestock management is classified under the aspect of robotics and Internet of Things because this is about embedded system, developing digital solutions that can help you gather data, accurate data to spread your farming practices. So, and lastly is enterprise and business development. This training also focuses on how you can understand the business knowledge on how to navigate because the business world is unpredictable because a whole lot of entrepreneurship generally it's an unpredictable land. So you need to review yourself per time, have the requisite business knowledge that can help you stay afloat in different realities of the season. Okay, so without further ado, let me quickly give an introduction, a proper introduction. Um, okay, so our speaker for today is Dr. Rebecca Andeshi. She is the CEO of Gross Circular Agro-Services Limited, and she's going to be training us or speaking to us in details about embedded system applications in livestock farming. So let me quickly read into her profile. Dr. Rebecca, she is a social entrepreneur and the CEO of Grow Circular Agro Services. With over 8 years of experience in the agribusiness sector, she specializes in sustainable livestock production for farmers in Nigeria. Rebecca holds a bachelor's degree in veterinary medicine from Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, Nigeria. Our dedication to socially impactful business ventures in the agriculture sector are gained numerous awards locally and internationally, such as Acumen, West African Fellow, and Well Stella Young Founders Fellow. Okay, I'm gonna bring in on board now. Miss Dr. Rebecca, I don't know if you can hear me. You're on the call now.
Good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, ma'am. I can hear you. I can hear
Okay, okay, thank you.
you. So you have the floor now. So you can let me bring in your slide. Or, share with us. Okay, you have the floor now,
So
so
can I
you
share it
can.
from my end?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Can you enlarge the screen a little bit
Ma,
so I can see clearly?
you said? Come again,
Can you
please.
enlarge the screen a little bit? Okay, okay. Can you enlarge the screen a little bit so I can see clearly?
Okay, I'm coming. Let me see. So, how about now? I
Okay,
think
that's
it's
okay.
okay.
Now it's
So,
okay. So I
all
don't
right,
know.
ma.
Secondly, also because of the network, my network has been very bad. So I don't think it's necessary for me to switch my video on.
Okay. Then so
Is
we
it
don't have
absolutely
issues.
necessary? The
No
network.
problem. If yes, so that we don't have issues going forward. Because if, at my hand too, I think I recently had a
The
network
network
issues
is
and
very
that
bad.
logged me out.
Okay.
Yes. All right, no problem. You can go ahead, ma.
So what's my time frame? I have 1 hour, right? Okay, so beyond the beyond my bio as a veterinarian and also as a social entrepreneur, I would like to give a little bit of a back end story about why I do what I do as an entrepreneur, especially in the livestock space. So basically, I'm a veterinarian by training, yes, but I also come from I'm a third generation cattle farmer. So I think invariably what that means is that my grandfather also was a cattle merchant and he was also into cocoa cultivation. I'm from Cross River State and from Obudu local government to be precise. So if you're very conversant with Cross River State, you know that Obudu local government is well known for cattle farming and it also has a cattle ranch also. Then also, even as a medical practitioner, growing up, my dad also was into livestock production. So it was more like a passion for him. And basically, this was what formed my foundational knowledge about livestock production to a greater extent and me studying veterinary medicine, though it was my choice to study veterinary medicine. So I was able to have first-hand knowledge on a lot of dynamics that happened within this space. So, and also me finally going into a career in livestock production and sustainability and technology to an extent was not really a choice but it was just probably I'll say fate, if it's okay to say fate, because I was just a business person. I was interested in making money. If I could make profit, why not? Why not engage in it? But I think my undergraduate research work as a project, my project work was on livestock to be precise. And I can remember very vividly then, I had to get research animals. I had to buy like 10 goats. I had to buy 5 male, 5 female. I had to do almost 6 months research and I was carrying out surgical procedure and taking other vital parameters. And I spent a lot of money on that project. But the fact that I came from a family that was into livestock production, so it wasn't really a big deal. And that project was funded. I funded it. So my dad could easily release money for me to do what I needed to do. And it wasn't really a big deal. Or say, okay, go and meet your supervisor and tell them to change your project topic. And I think as if that was not enough, then when I went for my youth service, I was posted to a slaughter slab to do meat inspection. And you go every morning, you inspect. If the meat is fit for consumption, if it's not, you condemn it and all that from a public health perspective and all that. Then along the line, I started doing an internship because for me, it had already been a decision that I wasn't really interested in working for any organization. I just needed to get the necessary experience I needed and start off on my own. Then that was now what now marked the beginning of my career in livestock production, cattle to be precise, cattle and poultry to an extent. I'm very passionate about that. And it has really helped me a lot because it's a sector where you have very few women on board. And I think within a very short period of time, because I found myself in a place where there were very few people in my sector, I was easy to go far within a short period of time. I started doing procurement for some multinationals because mostly multinationals they gift every December, and mostly they gift to kings, senators and all that, high-end individuals. Individuals that if you're probably giving them something, it has to be probably a cattle or an eagle or probably even a white lion. So something like that. So I was able to enter certain places and I was able to meet with certain people within the that cattle space in a very short period of time. So I was like, okay, I'm not really in a hurry to change career or something. And it's not as if this is what I wanted to do, but I did have background, a family background in this, and I know the cattle sector is a multi-billion naira sector in Nigeria. Yeah. If you look at the number of cattle that are slaughtered every day, Lagos alone has slaughtered less than 6,000, nothing less than 6,000 cattle every day. So those were some of the decisions I made. For me, it was a money decision. Along the line, then came in the climate change perspective, technology, public health, and all that. So I needed to give this background story so that people really understand beyond the biography, certification, she has done this, she has done that, and all that. What are the life situations that informed my decisions to focus on cattle and livestock to be precise? So these are some of the factors that I took into consideration. So our topic for today is I'll be discussing about embedded system application in livestock farming, and I'll be focusing more on the African context and Nigeria as a country compared to, and probably once in a while I will give a little bit of opinion on other regions in the world. But we always know that the African continent has a lot of limitations in terms of technological applications to a lot of sectors. So with regards to the livestock sector and the focus on cattle and poultry, to be precise, those would be my case studies. Most of the case studies I will use will be from that sector. As you all know, as you said, my name is Dr. Rebecca. Yeah, I'm from Cross River State, Nigeria, and I'm a licensed practicing veterinarian and also a social entrepreneur. I'm passionate about the use of technology for sustainable livestock production, emphasis on methane management and reduction, increased production, food security, and sustainability. As a way of introduction, if I'm to define for my own, from very layman, a very easy to understand definition of embedded system, I'll literally say is the use of specialized system or computing system that perform dedicated functions with larger systems. And we have quite a wide range of such available currently in the market, but I'll focus on microcontrollers, sensors, and IoT devices. And these IoT devices and sensors, I can easily relate with it because I just launched a product. I just designed a product for early disease diagnosis in cattle, and it's partially an IoT device, but I was able to incorporate a temperature sensor to be able to read the body temperature and to be able to alert the farmer. So I have a personal experience in terms of IoT devices and sensors. Their importance in agriculture, in livestock to be precise, cannot be, would I say overemphasized or would I say underemphasized. From a health let me say I'll focus from a health perspective now. Sorry, please, no, the other slide, the first slide. Go back again. Yeah, this one, just leave it here. Leave it where you have the picture of the cartoon. Okay, leave it here. Okay, yeah. So from a health point, because that's the most easily relatable experience in terms of humans, interaction between humans and cattle. One of the very critical importance of this embedded system in livestock production is it yes, there's a fact that it enhance efficiency, productivity and sustainability. But some of the current challenges are faced by livestock farmers in Nigeria are mostly disease management. And when I talk about disease management, I take into consideration several factors now. You look at the dynamics of Nigeria as a country and Africa as a continent. A larger percentage of, I call them smallholder livestock farmers that serve the population are mostly migratory by nature. They move from one location to the other to source for feed for their cattle. So mostly, and you hardly find them in the cities, mostly you find them in interior, inside villages where you literally have good road networks and all that. Not also forgetting the fact that there is also a deficiency of health practitioners in globally. As globally, there's a shortage of veterinarians compared to the population of livestock. So there will always be the challenge that in event that there's a disease outbreak, how fast can you provide medical attention or intervention to dis cattle? How quick can you salvage it or provide medication? That would always be a challenge. So mostly we are always of the opinion that prevention to an extent can go a long way. And even if you can't prevent, then management will also help, or isolation, because most of these herdsmen are in settlements. You have settlements of 100, 200, even up to 1,000 cattle. In event that there's an outbreak of a disease and there's no on time precise medical intervention, there's always a widespread. And for taking into consideration the fact that most of these diseases are airborne, so the rate of spread is very fast, and in most cases mortalities can be very high as 90%, and it can very high. A typical case study, for example, now is the outbreak of hemorrhagic septicemia in Taraba State. It, I think on the 4th of August this year. So hemorrhagic septicemia is a bacterial disease that affects cattle, but it's highly pathogenic because it causes a lot of mortality. And if you're someone that is very conversant with Taraba as a state, you know that Taraba has the largest population of livestock in Nigeria. They have over 1 million cattle. And imagine losing 1,000 cattle in a day because of this outbreak. I think the state government had to declare a state of emergency. No movement of cattle into the state and no movement of cattle out of the state. What that means is that from a health perspective, they have to isolate medical intervention and all that. From an economic standpoint, Taraba has one of the largest livestock markets in West Africa. And most of these cattle herdsmen come to the market every 5 market days to sell their cattle. And you have people coming from as far beyond West Africa, you have people coming from as far as Northern Africa to sell their cattle, mostly bulls, because Nigeria as a country is not a producing country. Mostly we import bulls from around Africa for consumption. So you can begin to imagine the huge economic loss it will cause to the state and to everybody that is a stakeholder in that value chain. Beyond that, most of these diseases, when there's an outbreak, if it is not contained, most of them to a higher degree have a zoonotic element to it. When I say zoonotic element, I mean human to animal transmission and animal to human transmission. And sometimes they might be very pathogenic like Ebola and what's the other, the avian influenza and all that, they might have very detrimental human effects. On another aspect, they might not really have much detrimental effect, but very silent and very harmful effect, especially for pregnant women. You have miscarriage, you can't really say what is the cause, early fetal loss, miscarriage. You have minute clinical signs, look like malaria, you're taking malaria drugs, you're not getting better. These are subtle human animal interaction, disease transmission that you're probably picking airborne. It might even be airborne. You don't even need to come in contact with some of these livestock. So that's why it is absolutely necessary, even if we can't really have good medical intervention. How about immediately there's an outbreak, with the help of some of these medical devices, farmers can isolate the sick animals immediately from the healthy ones, avoid them having contact with the same water, drinking water and feeding trough. Another factor also is feed management. Also, this is another place where this embedded system is of absolute importance. And for this now, you now come down to probably more commercialized dairy farms in Nigeria, or people that can really afford this technological expertise, because it can be very expensive. It can be very expensive. And this is where the poultry sector comes into play. And I'm going to explain why. For cattle now, you have farms that have incorporated a little bit of robotics into their management, from feed monitoring to milk collection to IoT devices, sensors that can easily monitor metabolic distress, feeding patterns and all that, and immediately alert. Immediately there is a problem, they can easily bring about intervention. Then for poultry systems too, we have a lot of farms. It's more common in the poultry sector actually. We have a lot of farms in Nigeria that are 100% automated, and they use this embedded system. Some I know of personally. And most of these embedded systems, they are completely automated, from feeding to drinking, medication administration, egg collection, manure collection, but it is capital intensive. So it's more common in the poultry sector compared to the cattle sector. But for the cattle sector, most people that can afford this embedded system are mostly large scale dairy farmers. But for the regular herdsman that raises his cattle, probably more, what he can afford might be the IoT device or the ear tag for early disease diagnosis. Then also, another very important factor of why this embedded system is very useful in livestock is labor. In terms of environmental control and labor too. Environmental control to a greater extent now, for example, most of these poultry farms that can easily manage their manure. You have poultry farms that have a way of collecting this manure and drying it in a chamber and bagging it. It goes a long way, because poultry is one of the major emitters of methane. We all know the relationship between methane and climate change, greenhouse gas emissions and all that. So if it's not properly managed, it is a lot actually. Then labor shortages. Why embedded system to an extent can help in terms of labor shortages, but this is a very dicey, it's very dicey, because on one hand, you have farmers complaining of, we know how the agricultural sector is in terms of labor, and how labor can is a headache, is a bone, is a very difficult shell to crack in terms of getting reliable farm workers. Yes, but we also have, like for example, for the poultry systems I know, you have a situation where two people can be managing 500,000 beds because of complete automation. So if we are talking about sustainability, sustainable development goals, job creation and all that, what is that? What's the interpretation or what's the direct correlation? So there are the advantages and there are also the disadvantages in terms of labor and labor shortages or job creation. And if you look at the graph now, this is just a critical. This next graph is just trying to demonstrate the dynamics of job creation in the livestock sector. Then the next point is how important or the role of embedded system, which to an extent I highlighted it while discussing the problems. But some of the advantages are real-time monitoring, continuous data collection from livestock and environment, and automation. So for real-time monitoring, for like let me use my device, the device we created, for example. The only thing for now is able to monitor is temperature. Yes, but temperature is also critical because that's one of the first indication of a diseased animal before the animal start presenting other clinical signs. They will always be rising body temperature for a specific period of time. So what our device does is that immediately there, because it has sensor, is able to pick a rise in body temperature. It will now alert the LED. There's a LED light that was embedded in it. If it's above 40 degrees Celsius, it will continue repeatedly, it will be blinking red. If it is below, if it's within the normal range, then it will blink green. We designed it in such a way that it is powered by solar, very little solar panel, and also there's a circuit battery in it. We took into consideration the fact that it will be used by farmers that are probably really not educated. So we needed something that was easy for them to understand, and you didn't need to intensive training for them to be able to use it on their own. So that was why we used the lighting dynamics. So once the farmer notices any change in the light for a particular period of time, and a distance as far as 40 meters, okay, he knows that okay, something is wrong. I need to separate this animal from others. And it has a minimum lifespan of 2 years, and you don't need to change the battery or anything. So we designed it more for dairy farmers because we know that most beef farmers do fattening, and Nigeria is not really a beef country. They import a lot of cattle for beef from neighboring countries, West Africa, North Africa, and that. But what we do a lot is dairy. That's why you have a lot of milk collection centers. You have one at Isen, you have a lot in the north, strategic milk collection centers where these farmers will always harvest their milk and supply to them. So the device took into consideration some of those factors. Then automation also. In terms of automation, for automation comes in place for dairy farmers, commercial dairy farmers that have a large population of cattle that can afford such systems. Then also, like I mentioned, the poultry farms that are fully automated and depend on automation for all their processes from production to packaging and everything. Then automation also helps in terms of monitoring the monitoring the feeding pattern of the animal, if the animal is overfeeding or underfeeding, and also aflatoxins or certain fungi that can mold in the feed. As little as mold can sound, as insignificant as mold can be, it can be very detrimental. The effect of mold can be compared to that of a viral disease in poultry. Mold, if aspergillosis, for example, is one of the diseases caused by mold. In the event that there's an outbreak of aspergillosis in a poultry farm due to consumption of mold infected feed, a farmer can come and see 100% mortality. You come and all your birds are dead. And most times, the first thing that comes to your mind is a viral disease. Yeah, okay, maybe it's Newcastle, maybe it's Gongoro, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. You're busy speculating. Okay, here is the funny situation now. You take your sample to the lab for postmortem analysis. You do postmortem analysis, you have the same clinical signs with viral diseases. Even if you don't go to a lab, you go to a vet now, stand most vets don't really do lab analysis. They just open and based on clinical signs, they tell you that okay, this is probably the cause of death. Yeah. So you say, okay, probably is it aspergillosis, this is that. You're busy speculating. Meanwhile, it's something you can't even correlate with. And even if you bring in another set of beds, or there's always a source of contamination, right? But probably from the feed mill where you bought your feed, or you got old stock, or your raw materials, wherever you bought it from. It will hardly go to your mind that okay, this is contamination from the feed, and you keep trying and trying and you keep wasting money. That is how bad aspergillosis can be. Even prior to death, aspergillosis will present the same clinical signs with Newcastle, respiratory signs, discharge of mucus from the nose, greenish feces. Everything is always similar. So it can be very difficult because there are very few labs and there are very few people that want to take their poultry for that matter to a lab to do what you say, I want to analyze this, I want to analyze that. It's not a common practice. So in as little as it might look, automation can go a long way in picking some of these things, and it is more understandable for large scale farms. When you have 500,000 beds, you have 1 million beds, you have 250,000 beds, you cannot take that risk. So this is where automation can be very, very valuable and critical. But for a small scale farmer, it's negligible. It might not really cost much. Aside from feeding also, automation can monitor the water also, contamination from the water, especially underground water pollution. It's not a common knowledge. Underground water pollution is a present day reality in Africa and Nigeria as a country. So it will always occur. Then also health monitoring systems. Beyond the regular ear tags and other small IoT devices, for advanced systems and advanced poultry and livestock farms, you can easily monitor air quality, ammonia in the air, other toxins, other poisonous gases in the air that you know that once they get a very critical level, then you know that something is wrong. You need to decontaminate, you need to clean up. I'll use ammonia as a case study now. Ammonia is one of the gases that you would always find in poultry farms or poultry houses. In event that there's a build up of ammonia in a poultry farm, two things would always occur. The bird will always come down with respiratory distress and all that. Then there's always coccidiosis. You're not careful, there's always the outbreak of coccidiosis. You have bloody feces and all that. So, to a larger extent, what automation will do for you is that it's more of a management intervention. In medicine, they call it prophylaxis. You're better off preventing than treating because once there's an outbreak, it's difficult. Unnecessary expenses you're incurring that you would have, it will increase your operational costs beyond that. So automation will go a long way in saving you all those distress. And finally, data analysis. Data analysis now is also critical for the dairy sector and for the poultry sector. For dairy sector now, you know your milk yield. If you're into for those that dairy sector milk production now, for local breeds, if you have local breeds of cattle in your farm, that okay, the normal range is probably 8 liters per day and all that. Yeah, but except you have a crossbreed and you say okay, you're doing 12 liters or 14 liters of milk a day. For a farmer that has a foreign breed, a Frisian Holstein for example, and you're doing 12 liters a day, then something is wrong. Because you know the cost of buying a cattle. You have some of these cattle that are high as 2 million just for one. Then the cost of feeding, maintenance. You can't graze them, you feed them 24 hours, you give them water 24 hours. There's a standard quantity of water that you can give them, if not, they will drop in milk production. You provide a very conducive environment, you regulate their temperature, you have heaters, you have chillers. It is a whole lot. A lot of expenses are going into operations. You do not have the luxury of saying your cattle are underproducing, because is capital intensive. So automation will immediately alert you. For large scale dairy farms, it immediately alerts you where things are going wrong, and immediately, the good thing about these embedded systems and all these AI devices and all these machine learning devices is that in a time frame as short as 2 seconds, as short as 2 seconds might be, immediately it alerts you on an anomaly, on an abnormality in your systems or your production. So that's how useful it can be for dairy now. For poultry now, automation, most people I've seen do automation to a larger extent are mostly egg, those into egg production. But dairy broiler farmers also do it, but to a larger extent is more beneficial to farmers that are into egg production, because for egg production now, it's very dicey, and it can be very, the loss can be, it can go a long way in causing a very large level of economic loss. Because I've done quite a handful of consultancy for some farms, and in as little as not giving your birds water for a period of as short as 1 hour, something as insignificant as 1 hour can literally take you 4 days to recover, because these birds will just drop their egg production. And immediately they drop their egg production, do not be carried away by, okay, since they are not producing, I won't feed them. If you apply the same principle to not feeding, I promise you, it will take a long while for you to recover. Okay, this is the case scenario. You don't give them water for a period of as short as 1 hour or feed. It will take you 4 days to recover, but you must continue giving them their normal ration to meet up with that lapses of just 1 hour. So from an economic standpoint, you do not even have the luxury of taking that chances if you have a large scale farm. These are where most of these technologies are very critical, because in all sincerity, for small scale farms is negligible. The losses are very low and minute. You can neglect it. You have 100 beds, you have 200 beds, yeah, 1,000, yes, it's negligible. Someone that have 100,000 beds, 250,000 beds, 500,000 beds, it just somehow it has to be part of your budget to incorporate a certain aspect of technology. You might not do complete automation in terms of egg picking, manure scraping and all that, feeding and all that, but you can incorporate in all these indicators or all these sensors for to alert you immediately something is going wrong. Then that has to do with data analytics. Then the case study is AI powered health monitoring. And I think I gave an example initially about the outbreak of hemorrhagic septicemia, and this is just one. Then there was also recently outbreak of brucellosis and anthrax. Sorry, there's a reemergence of anthrax. Anthrax used to be one of those diseases. Anthrax, and there's this other disease, was one of those diseases that we used to celebrate that, okay, it has completely been eradicated from the market, or let's say from the country, and there was really no cause for alarm. But there has been a re-emergence of anthrax, and there was an abattoir in Bauchi State that in a day they lost about 75 butchers. That's how bad anthrax is. Highly pathogenic, highly virulent. It causes instant, it acts like vitamin K. E melts the blood. Before you know, the person is bleeding. Any orifice. It's like Ebola. Will I compare it to Ebola? Some of the clinical signs: bloody discharge from all the cavities. Any opening in the body, the person is bleeding. That is how bad some of these livestock diseases can be. And because much awareness is not really created, so there's no awareness or sensitization about some of these diseases. So that's why, to a greater extent, AI can help in early detection and isolation. Because some of these livestock, immediately you identify these diseases, it's not rocket science. First point of action is calling. Calling involves you have to kill the animal, you have to burn it. The way you handle Ebola cases, you have to burn it, you have to bury it, you have to mobilize people to go and disinfect. And mostly you don't just mobilize anybody. Mostly people that into such fumigations are mostly people from two major organizations, Center for Disease Control or Center for Disease Control, yeah, Africa, or World Health. There's an aspect of, they have field veterinarians or public health practitioners that they always engage them, and they are first line of defense. You have them at state level, you have them at federal level, they are everywhere. State government, local government, they are always part of the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development at federal and state level. Then, okay, the next point is smart feeding systems, key applications of all these AI, key applications now of all this latest advanced technology in livestock production. I've mentioned a lot about smart feeding systems, but let me bring in another dynamics. We know how expensive feed is now. I think the last time a bag of poultry feed can go as high as 24,000. So you don't even want to start wasting feed. You have no excuse or no reason to overfeed your birds and cause wastage if you can regulate it and if you can monitor. But it still boils down to large scale farming because you are spending a lot on feeding. You're spending a whole lot, almost 70% of your budget of your operational cost is going to feeding. So you want a situation where everything is accounted for. There are no losses in any way or in any form. That's another angle to applying automation to livestock, either poultry or dairy. Because for dairy too, when you have foreign breeds of cattle in your farm, then you are not even grazing them. It's not an option. You are not even thinking of taking them out to go and graze. They are under 24 hours feeding and drinking. So it takes a whole lot. But a cattle can eat as high as one cattle can feed on 20 kg of feed a day. So that's a lot. That's a whole lot. Then another benefit of automation, yeah, it reduce waste, improve growth rate, improve the immunity, yeah, and all that. Then environmental monitoring, the importance of all this embedded system in terms of monitoring the environment. Like I mentioned earlier, ammonia, that's one of the most important gases you always look out for. Urea and all that. Also temperature. Temperature in the sense that poultry and dairy also, for those that are managed within an enclosed system, it's always very important to monitor the temperature because of heat stress. I think heat stress is more, it causes a lot of damage compared to when both of them. I can't really say anyone is better because when you have heat stress now, you have a lot of mortality, you have because of the heat. Then when the environment is extremely cold, then you now have a lot of respiratory related diseases that you now have to start treating. So at the end of the day, you would always have to regulate the temperature within the system, and that's why automation will alert you. If the temperature of this house is too high, you find a way to monitor it or to manage it using your cooling system. If the temperature is too cold, you have to switch on your heating system to regulate it. So that's where automation and temperature monitoring comes in. Humidity and air quality also is there. Ventilation also is very important. Then largely impact on animal welfare and productivity. So another place where this embedded system can be applied is traceability and inventory management. Traceability and inventory management. Okay, to an extent now, you can now incorporate some of these herdsmen, cattle herdsmen, because they've also benefited from some of these solutions. For example, I've had a situation where I've had to do application of microchips for cattle. In terms of microchips, anybody can benefit from that. You don't have to be extremely well. One chip can go for as low as 3,000 naira, and mostly they are administered subcutaneously, and they are like tracking devices, and they are also important for when administering medication. You can easily scan the number and know which animal has been you've admitted medication or vaccine. That's where traceability comes in. But more advanced systems of traceability are, though that's very new in Nigeria, and I don't even know if it's in Nigeria now. It's a new technology, and you see places like Netherlands and Australia are geofencing. Geofencing is a new concept where these special tags are attached to the animal, and once they graze and they get to a particular perimeter, they don't extend beyond that. It also helps in terms of improved production, traceability, and inventory management. With geofencing, you can easily trace your animal, you know where their location is, and you also know where you want them to to a certain boundary that you don't want them to exceed. Because if you look at somewhere like Texas, some of these ranches are huge. You can have a farmer having as high as 1,000 hectares and above of land. So it will take a lot to fence it. It will be very capital intensive. So sometimes some of these devices will just ease the burden of operation for some of these farmers. Then another important is also traceability and inventory management can also be integrated into supply chain management systems. And also lastly, it can also benefit in terms of food security and quality assurance. Another case study also is use of sensors in beef operations to monitor health and optimize feed. I've said that initially. For poultry now, I've also said it, real-time monitoring of the environment, mobile apps for farmers to also manage their poultry remotely. Then another benefit is also this, the summary of everything is increased efficiency, because automation will always reduce labor and time. Though there are two sides to this. There's the fact that you get a lot done within a short period of time, and it's very fast. Like I said, you have two people managing almost 500,000 beds. That's a whole lot. You're cutting down a lot on labor. But on the other hand, we have the SDGs. How are you creating value? How are you creating job? Because most of these large farms will always be in rural communities. You hardly find them in the cities because there's no landmass to be able to do such. So you're in a community and you're not creating job, you're doing nothing and all that. It doesn't sit well. You always find a way to create jobs. So those are the disadvantages to technology in terms of automation. Then another one would be enhanced field welfare. Yes, better monitoring leads to healthier stock, sustainability. You are optimizing the use of your resources, your feed, your water, and at the end of the day, the impact in the environment. Because I'm big on climate change, I'm big on methane management and reduction. That's my area and my field and where I'm passionate about. So if you are managing methane, then this climate change, we are, to an extent, we are adapting and we are mitigating climate change, right? Everybody in one way or other is affected by climate change. Okay, we have irregular rain patterns now. Sometimes you have long period of dry spells, then you have very short period of heavy rainfalls. You have mass destruction. You have, I think during that dry period of extended period of dry spells, it got to an extent where people were beginning to hold meetings and beginning to seek counsel, just like you watch in Nigerian movies. Is there something we are doing Probably spiritually, have we offended the gods? Do we need to appease them and all that? But these are all realities of climate change. Yes, you can give an excuse and you can say, okay, I'm in Nigeria. Nigeria is not emitting a lot of greenhouse gases. Why should it affect? But the truth is, the global challenge, and everybody is whether you are emitting your quota of greenhouse gas or you're under emitting, you would still you will still feel the effect of climate change. And as a country, we are not technologically advanced to manage climate change or to manage the emergencies of climate change. Look at what happened in Dubai. Within 3 or 4 days, we were able to manage it and bring it under control. But in our own case, that's not the case, because if it were a priority now, then we'll be looking at water collection facilities. Are there ways during this heavy period of rainfalls, are there ways we can collect this water, store it, and prepare for the dry season? Or even if we can't collect it and store it, are there ways we can channel this water to the desert? Are there ways we can Green wall is a current project now. They are trying to reforest the desert area along the green zones. They have about 7 countries in that region. How can we divert? But these are all story conversations for another day. So I digressed into this because of the effect on the environment, and because, of course, climate and methane is something I'm very passionate about. Challenges and considerations now. Beyond farmers that are into commercial dairy farm, they also have an association in Nigeria actually. We call them the Commercial Dairy Ranchers Association of Nigeria, and is a legally recognized organization, and you register to join depending on your capacity as a farmer. We also have another category of farmers, which are the smallholder farmers and the migratory herdsmen that settle in clusters and clusters. What are the barriers to technology adoption? For these large farms now, there are really no barriers. They can afford this technology. It's even very critical for them, it's very important. But for the small scale farmer, the smallholder farmer that is grazing his cattle from one village to the other, looking for greener pasture, how to feed his cattle, how to meet up with the water demand, how to collect his milk the next day, how to supply it to WAMCO to supply and collect his money. How would technology now help him, or what are the limiting factors? Some of these barriers are, one of them is technical expertise to a greater extent. That was why when we were doing our ear tag, we had to do a lot of, as simple as that device might be, we did a lot of strategy sections, a lot of deep thinking, critical thinking. We're like, we don't want to have to train these farmers. We don't want to be a situation where we say we're going for training, we're doing this, we're doing that. And we wanted something affordable. We do not forget that you have those living below the poverty index. You have those that are average, and to an extent they can afford certain things. We wanted it to be from a revenue standpoint. You can easily come buy this device and use it. So those are very critical factors we took into consideration. Takes a lot to be able to go into these deep interiors to be able to access these farmers. So we didn't want all those stress. We wanted something easy, easy to use, easy to adapt. That was what we took into consideration for our device. I think my time is almost up. Then also data privacy and security. I think this is more in terms of those that use more advanced technologies. Then now let's come to future trends. Future trends in terms of technology that can be adopted in livestock production. Artificial intelligence is a big deal. Machine learning and all that, blockchain. These are some of the future of agriculture in terms of technology and all that. We have organizations that are doing a lot of research, R&D, development. A lot is going into livestock. livestock is a big deal now, methane is a big deal now. Most of these most of these world leaders now, it's as if they held a general meeting and they say, okay, let's face livestock sector. I would say it's as if they held a general meeting, but do you know once one person do it, other people will pick interest. Okay, there's Jeff Bezos now, there's Earth Fund. Earth Fund is pumping heavily into research and development. Millions of US dollars. Research, development, methane, livestock, cattle. Cattle, they are not missing words, it's cattle strictly. They are pumping into research and development. There's Bill Gates on the other hand now. He has done his IT. He now wants to be a farmer full time. Though he has always been he has always been heavily involved in cattle in Nigeria. A lot of projects that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has sponsored in northeastern Nigeria. But now he's going full time. He's doing a lot in that sector. So a lot of these billionaires are pumping in funds into R&D, data analysis, artificial intelligence, machine learning, sensors, and all that to find out solutions because for now they believe that okay, cattle are emitting greenhouse gases, yeah, and greenhouse gas is one of the major causes of climate change, methane gas and all that. Yes. So I think for the next 5 to 10 years, that will be their focus area before probably they make a new discovery of another thing that is causing climate change. So if you really are someone that has interest in livestock or you plan to, this will be the right time now to position yourself before they lose interest. Before it was renewable energy, the focus was on renewable energy, plastic pollution and all that. But now it's methane, livestock, cattle. You can always do your research. A lot of information is available online and especially on LinkedIn. Then another future trend would be increased connectivity with 5G, enhancing real-time data transmission and all that. So in conclusion, I would say key takeaways, key points to note are embedded systems are absolutely important. Africa as a context, Nigeria as a country, or globally, but there will always be minor tweaks and minor alterations to fit real-time problems, right? In as much as you are bringing an innovation and a solution, it should be able to address a problem, not because you are introducing it to the market for introduction's sake. In the African context, yeah, it will help solve a problem. For example, now you're introducing an AI app for maybe early disease detection or something, it will be okay to it would be okay to do something with translation. I'm just giving off my head idea now. If you're introducing a mobile app, an AI app for disease diagnosis that will be able to immediately notify the farmer of his animal is sick, why not do something with a translation, a Hausa translation, a Fulani translation, and so all that? Those are like limiting the system down to our country as a context and our real life problems. Then probably you just alert the farmer on first aid treatment he should do. Okay, please isolate the animal, give the animal water, put the animal in a cold. Just minor things that can really go a long way because at the end of the day, it all boils down to management, right? Then another very critical point is that we always encourage early adoption of some of these technologies. Yeah, there will always be organizations there that sponsor some of these devices, but even if you are introducing these solutions to these farmers, pricing will always be a critical factor. Put revenue as your driving model. Put prices that these farmers can afford. If there's nobody to buy it for them and distribute for them, can they easily walk into your distribution outlet, pick this device and pay for it with their own money? Those are what you take into consideration. And lastly, Africa as a context. Africa has a total population of 3.2 billion livestock and a human population of 1.4 billion humans. What that means is that we are literally competing with these livestock for scarce agricultural resources. You might not see how it matters, but we always compete for maize. Maize is one of the most basic commodity that cut across both parts of the divide. Farmers will always use maize for feed. Humans will always use maize for feed, for industrial processes, for production. The list is endless. Now you can now understand why agroterrorism is a big deal. You can now understand why these people keep insisting on their grazing routes. You see, okay, you say you see farmers in the city, what are cattle, why have these herdsmen moving with their cattle in the city? You always have that clash, farmer herders clashes. It will always be because there's always this competition for scarce resources that are not readily available. But in conclusion, a lot of opportunities are in the cattle, in the livestock sector. It might not be an easy decision for you to make if you are not someone who has been in the field and who have had an interaction. So that might be an excuse. But if it's someone you are passionate about, if it's something you're passionate about, why not give it a try? For me, it can be easier because I've always had the track record and I've always had a practical experience and correlation with livestock, revenue generation aspect and every aspect of it. So it will be difficult for you to convince me otherwise because it has always something I've been doing from the beginning. So it was not as if even in situations where they are okay, you do certain applications and out of 100 applications, only one goes through. That does not really mean it's a failure because it took a lot to convince people that okay, cattle is a big deal, livestock is a big deal. But people are beginning to get that idea because for me it was not a big deal. But I've done procurement for multinationals a lot, and mostly it's recommendation. People will always recommend you. Sometimes you have international calls and someone will be like, I got your number and they said you are into this, I need this. And livestock is a big deal for multinationals because that's the only standard gift you can give. For people in oil and gas that are always lobbying for one contract or the other, if someone has a burial, he lost his mom or has an occasion, the ideal gift will always be a cartoon. For a communication company that want to have a very good working relationship with the community where their cable lines are, they will always gift the kings. Always, always. That's the standard procedure. It's a standard routine procedure every year, every December. I say this because okay, I've had the opportunity of working with about 20 kings in first class kings in Anambra and Imo State, the Obi of Onitsha and the head of traditional rulers of Imo State. So it's a big deal, but a lot of information are not really out there. So people will not really understand. But I think the fact that priority is beginning to shift to the livestock sector, people are now beginning to say, okay, something is happening here. It's no longer fintech. We're no longer competing with the fintech guys or the renewable energy guys. People are beginning to realize that okay, these people actually exist from an economic standpoint, from a public health standpoint, and whether and more importantly, from a climate perspective, taking into consideration methane dynamics in terms of greenhouse gas emission. Thank you very much. Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
All
I think
right.
now we are.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rebecca. Sincerely, your section has been an interesting ride. I mean, giving us expository uh, insight into the application of digital technologies, embedded system basically in livestock farming. And personally, I've also gained from this section in the sense that we need to learn the act of management and also leveraging digital technologies that can give us swift and prompt information as at when these issues or diseases are actually springing up before they grow into the widespread, we can actually leverage these technologies to get the accurate information to be able to take preventive measure. So it's a very interesting one. So we are currently in the question and answer section. So anyone who is having question can drop his or her question as we discuss that. So let me quickly check if we have questions around here. Um, thank you so much. Okay. I think there's a question for you here from David Sonon. He said, as an agronomist with less experience with livestock farming, this presentation, okay, is very insightful and mind blowing. Okay, he's just giving
There's a
a
comment, yeah.
comment.
Thank you.
It's not really a question. It's not. He's just giving a question. Okay. Okay. I want to ask. These devices or these technologies, they work with intelligence, and I think weather factor can also affect them, which can result into maybe inaccurate or poor readings, giving you wrong data, which can result into error. So how do you navigate this? Um, is it that within certain period of time, once you get these maybe hair tags or these devices, just or how do you dictate all of these things to be able to get accurate reading at every point in time, because of the fact that you mentioned about airborne disease, because when these animals have these diseases, it can actually go airborne, and this can spread into a community or even result into mortality. It can result into killing people and all of that. So that's just my question.
Okay, so I'll speak for my own device, which is what is I'm displaying here on the screen. And though I know some of these devices are in-house, some of these larger devices are in-house. Most of the devices you always see outside are wearable devices cannot that you can take out. And this device in particular, when we did it we started from scratch. I did
Okay.
it from a sketch, a sketch with a pencil up to the stage, and is a full product, and this is the second prototype. So like I said initially, we did a lot of strategy sections, we did a lot of deep thinking, MRD, research and development, and it was designed by a lab in Abuja. It was designed by IFE, Innovate 8. And if you are aware about IFE, you know that most of their engineers are from Israel. Some of them come in from Israel and is sponsored by the Nigerian government and the Israeli embassy in Nigeria. So if there's anything that Israel is known for, is technological expertise. I think that's one of their core area of strength. So those were in fact a lot of factors we took into consideration. If you look at this device now, all the materials that were used for production are water resistant, and also we made sure that they were also heat resistant, because the sensor, the lead is somewhere here. Then the sensor, this is the sensor, this long black thing. The sensor is embedded inside. It's like, I don't know what's the material that was used to produce it, but it's embedded in, like, would I call it plastic? Or I don't know the exact name to use, but the sensor is embedded in this long stuff. So there's no way that if you expose it, it will be exposed to water because it's already protected. And this is also collapsible. You can put it in the ear of the animal and you will not have any skin reaction or any body reaction. You even know that something is there. Then every other aspect of the device, this is the solar panel. The circuit is embedded inside this panel, and the LED light is also embedded. So everything is well protected. And I promise you, we did not just one, but almost two or three strategy sections. We did a lot of back and forth, online research. We also did physical evaluation. The first prototype was designed. We went to the market, we tested, we got feedback, we came back. We also took into consideration the weight because this device is attached to the ear of the cattle. So it has to be extremely light. It's less than 20 gram or 30 gram, this device. So it should be something that the animal should be very comfortable wearing without feeling the weight. So I promise you, we took into consideration almost everything that you can literally think of that would be a challenge in terms of exposure to the external environment and the climate. Because mostly we took into consideration for the smallholder farmers, they are always outside, they are rarely in an enclosed environment, probably only at night when they need to sleep. So those were factors that we considered when we're doing the design.
Okay, that's a very insightful one. So product development like this would require you to do critical research and critical thinking before you can develop solutions for market value. So someone is asking here that, okay, he said, thank you so much. Your section has been educative and insightful and interesting.
Mhm.
So how easy or hard can it be for people that are not in animal health production line? Probably, I think he's asking about how easy can they be able to get along with this technology, maybe to navigate it, either hardware solutions or software solutions. Can you give uh, an insight around that?
So, okay, most of these devices are very easy to use, and mostly they come with a manual, right? That's if you want to
Okay.
use it. But if you want to go into a career in probably livestock or something, the only thing I would say is that you will need a lot of patience, but you should always have a plan B or another source of revenue. Do you understand? It's not, I won't tell
Yes,
you that
yes,
okay,
yes,
just
yes.
leave what you are doing and do this. No. I just say just do what you are doing, but make it a passion. Gradually, you pick up until you get to an extent where you feel as if you are fully established, you are fully making money. You have so much customers that you cannot meet up. You don't want to leave whatever you are doing. Do you understand? But it takes a lot of patience. And me personally, I would say some people are always of the opinion that hey, you're very patient, you're a very patient person. But for me, it was easier because I've seen people around me do it. I know what is at stake. I know what is involved. Do you understand? So it will be
Yes, yes.
difficult. I remember 6 years back during the wave of fintech, we're like fintech, oh fintech, people should notice us now. We are existing, consider us and all that. But it was really not a topic for in conversation. And everybody wanted to invest in fintech. Do you understand?
Yes,
Now,
yes, yes.
6 years we are down the lane. Livestock is a big deal. So it takes a lot of patience. For someone that is not patient, then no problem. It's okay. Do what you are doing, generate revenue. If you have interest, pick interest, and as you quickly, if it's something you want to do long term, you can now divert into it. But yes, that was what I would say. But most of these devices are easy to use. They're easy to use, and they always come with manual. And there are some cases, special cases now. There's this device I
Yes.
needed to get for to track methane tracking. It's very, very expensive, very expensive. And when I needed to get it, I had to pay. They said I've not gotten it yet because the point was that I had to bring in their specialists and I have to pay for their flights and their accommodation and consultancy fee for them to come with the machine. And that is about $30,000. For someone that is doing research and development, you might
Yes.
consider it because I say funds are going to research and development. That's a different ball game. For me to even want to buy that kind of machine is because I need it. I'm not buying it for fancy. For you to bring out, maybe for you to want to buy a machine almost $120,000, then there's a need. You're not just buying it to keep it and to be looking at it. But for someone that is starting, there's small devices that you can use. Even if it gets bad, you will not feel the pain that much or the economic loss that much, depending when you get to that stage where you can get something that the engineers have to come down. For now, most of them will always have a manual. But if you get to that stage that the engineers have to come down with the machine, then that means you've gone to that extent And you might get there, but you have cattle selling for, you want to get a reasonable size cattle in Nigeria and it's up to 450,000 or 500,000. If you are serious about buying
Okay.
a good size cattle, a large cattle can go as high as 850,000, one point something. Local breeds, not even foreign, not international breeds. So when you see people doing such expenses, it's because yeah, it's necessary and it's worth it at the end of the day, but it's also very capital intensive.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for that brilliant answer. It's very insightful. So as we progress, I think we still have one or two questions here from David. He said you mentioned that one of the challenges here is the initial investment, which can be high for farmers. So his next question is, what financial strategies can we put in place leveraging the reliability of this technology to help farmers access loan?
Hmm. Can you hear me?
Yes, 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 I can hear you very well.
Okay, so let me say something. In terms of it being capital intensive, I mean getting machines, because I'm getting to a stage where I want to do a lot of research and development. For me to be buy some of
Okay.
these machines can be capital intensive, right? But if you're
Yes, yes,
somebody
yes,
that
definitely.
you want to go into livestock production, forget the fact that we are embedded livestock technology now. You want to start a career in livestock production. It goes down to your marketing. And me, I always said it. Studying veterinary medicine was not really a big deal. I always knew that business is business, and I started business early. And I'm happy that I had the chance. Nobody stopped me. I started business as a child, 9 year old. So I'm good at
Wow.
market. If I want to sell water to you, I will sell water to you and you buy it at any amount. I'm that good. So when I started cattle sales, I didn't use my money to go and buy cattle and supply anybody and collect money later. I collected my money upfront, I added my margin, I supplied it and I removed my profit. When I needed to sell a whole truck about 40 bulls. I didn't do, okay, I'll go and sell, you give me 75%, I supply, you give me balance. That's not me. I had to get, do you understand? So there are
Yes,
always
yes,
ways
yes.
that you can get how to sell, how to go into this business. Because in all sincerity, I won't come and tell you that go to the bank, go to they are doing female empowerment, they are doing this, they are doing that. I'll be lying to you and I'll be setting your hopes high. The bank will not
Okay.
call you until when they see the cash flow. For now, they will not answer you, but they are watching. When they start seeing your revenue, they will be the ones calling you. I said, now, okay, let me not call names. Let me not call names. What some people say. Different banks will be calling you left, right, center.
Yes.
That's the dynamics of Nigeria. That's the dynamics of Africa. I just have to be sincere. I won't want to burst your bubbles. I won't want to sell you pipe dreams. Banks will forget whatever they are saying is good and fine. Banks will give somebody the money that doesn't need it. You go to them, you want to give loan, they will say, oh, do you have collateral? Does your land have C of O? Some kind of things that they are asking. If I have a land that have C of O, would I be going to the bank to look for money?
Someone else.
Won't I sell one plot and raise the revenue? So that's the Nigerian dynamics. So you find a way to focus more on revenue generation, market more, and when I was selling cattle, it was not as if I had a ranch somewhere. Oh. There's no cattle market I can promise you in the east or to an extent in the west I'm not known. I started going to markets where I could literally get cattle very cheap.
Okay.
I was going to Oko market. Oko is one of the largest cattle markets in south in Delta State. I was going there. I'll go to Abia State. There's this market where the governor closed down, where they say they saw a lot of dead bodies or something. I was going to that market. I was going to Uguoba. I'll go to Kara. I had contacts in Mubi. I was going to places where I can buy a cattle for 200,000 and sell it for 450,000. Do you understand? I had to. So I didn't have any capital or anything that was say, okay, oh, this is. So for my profit now, I can even do another business pending, but I won't sell cattle every day. I won't sell it every month. So from the small revenue I raise, I can do something else. That would just be
Okay.
practical advice that I would give. But this loan, they are not available. Even if you get a loan, even if, let's imagine, even if, what are you selling that you'll be able to make a profit margin of 50%? Bank rate now is about 38%. Oh, there's inflation. So what are you doing that you generate that level of profit that you now pay back the loan? You now say you want to use the profit to do another business. You become a perpetual debtor now. You're always going for one loan or the other. So it's not really always a safer option. That's just what I'll say. But you can try your
Oh,
luck, oh, but I would like to you. It's difficult to get and you hardly get it.
okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your
Mm.
uh, view on that. Yeah, we could say your honest opinion around that. So thank you so much. This has really been an interesting ride with you in this livestock masterclass, and I mean, our time is fast spent. Yes, we exceeded 1 hour already. So as we wrap up, I think participants are actually asking for your contact or just to want to connect with you, maybe your LinkedIn
Is there a
and the name
chat?
of your company.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you
Let me see.
can.
Let me just post it in the comment section.
Okay, so you can write that out.
I don't know. I can't chat. I don't know if you can share it. Just share my LinkedIn. My inbox is always open.
Okay,
Can you share my
okay.
LinkedIn with them? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, no problem. I'm going to share that right
Okay.
away, so you can just have uh, with you. Okay, coming. Okay, quickly get this. Okay, so I'm back now. So
Mm. Okay, you
okay,
sent it.
so
Right?
yeah, so that's our LinkedIn profile for everyone,
Mm.
wherever you want to
Mm.
connect with her. And the name of our company is Grow
Yes,
Secular
excellent.
Agro Services Limited.
Mm.
So it's really interesting to have you here. It's
Mm.
very amazing work you're doing at Grow Secular,
Mm.
developing digital solutions to help livestock farmer practice precision agriculture and for them to be able to dictate, I mean, horizon issues at their early stage and to be able to take preventive measure. So thank you so much, Dr. Rebecca, for being on
Thank you.
the
You're
section
welcome.
with us. Yes. So we sincerely appreciate this and we value your time and your experience, sharing your wealth of experience with us. So, in the absence of questions, so we've really come to the end of this section. Thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank you. You're
joining
welcome.
this edition. Thank you very much, man. Thank you, everyone, for joining. So, as regarding the next week sections, it will be communicated to you all via email and in the close WhatsApp group, so you can have the information of the next section next week. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We've gradually come to the end of the streaming. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Yes, bye, bye.